Hello everybody, I'm KevBotany and welcome back to a brand new Minecraft video. Today I have something extremely special for you. About a week ago I hit 50 subscribers on YouTube. I am extremely excited about that. And to celebrate, I made this very special project for all of you guys today. Now, as you saw by the intro, we have a fantastic 5x5 display right here. Now it is running behind me as we speak, so there's the first frame of the set. Now it is a 15 frame system right now, so 25 pixels times 15 frames equals 375 bits of information being processed by the system. So overall it's very fantastic. I'm super happy that it's working, and now I'll show you some of the redstone behind this fantastic thing. So guys, this is the contraption. As you can see, it is a fantastic mass of redstone and hoppers and shulker boxes and blocks and just everything you can imagine. It's in here, and somehow it all works together to produce this fantastic image you see on the screen. Okay guys, so now I'm going to try to do my best to go into a little bit of detail here and try to tell you what's going on. Now, this system is made up of a bunch of modules. So, right here we have the shulker box swapper system, and there are 5 of these. And then over here we have the Tileable display hookup. Now there are 5 strips in total, but there are 2 different kinds of strips that have to be placed one beside each other so that the redstone signals don't get all mixed up. So we're going to start off with the red circuit. So this is a 5 output shulker box swapper, and the items need to be distributed. So that's what the red circuit does. So there will be a shulker box right there, and the items will come down this line of hoppers. Then right underneath here there's a comparator that'll detect when there's an item at the end of the hopper, send a redstone signal out through this line, as well as down in the front here, and that will bring the items through into the droppers. When the line turns back on, the droppers will fire the items out into this line, but we'll get there in a second. Now there's also a pulse extender here, just to make sure that the pulse is long enough for the items to all get sucked through. Next we have the orange circuit. That is the outputs for the system, so as the items go through these hoppers into the droppers, whether they are stackable or non-stackable will give an output into these droppers, which are an RS NOR latch array that's reset every time items go through the system, and that is how I got the outputs for the display. Next we have the yellow circuit, and this one was very crucial. When the items are all dropped out of the droppers, at the same time, into the hoppers below, there's a bug where the update order of the hoppers does not keep item order consistent, so we need this little contraption here. This is a row of observers going into the blocks, and each one has 1 tick more timing than the last, and that will fire out the items from the droppers one by one. Now you'll notice the last one does not have any observer or repeater, and that is because this one is fired by the timing of this line coming back on slightly after this observer will fire. That way I maintain all of the item order in the system. So now we move on to the green circuit. This is what controls when the shulker boxes break. So we have a comparator right there going into some dust and a repeater, and that will detect when the shulker box is empty, and it'll turn off. When it turns off, there is a monostable circuit that will trigger the piston, as well as this dispenser here replacing the shulker box afterwards. The shulker box is shut off into this hopper line where it goes to be dispensed over there. Then we move on to the blue circuit. So when this circuit is activated, this piston will trigger. That piston triggering will update this piston, which will cause 1 loop of this hopper clock. That is set to the perfect timing so that all of those items can travel through that hopper line and get into a shulker box right there, and then this shulker box is broken just at the perfect time, and then another one is dispensed again afterwards. Then we also have a circuit down here, and this just fires these droppers because I had to cross the lines with the hoppers right above it. So that was a basic overview of all the components of the Shulker box swapper. I hope it made some sort of sense, and if not, just watch the video again. I'm sure you'll get it eventually. But now let's go get onto the display hookup because this is really quite cool. Alright guys, so the display hookup is nice and tileable, and I've broken it up into two parts because it does require two separate circuits to do it properly. So, on one side we have got the red, I think that's red hardened clay, it looks kind of purple to me, but it's red, and as you can see, there are 5 separate lines that are spread out by 3 blocks, and then in this segment here, it's spread out into a 2-block gap, which is then brought down into the display here. Now you'll notice that I use the blocks on top and bottom to actually hook up the display. That is how I managed to get enough room to squeeze all of this in here. But then on the other side I used virtually the same concept, but I had to tile it up differently, make sure no redstone was janking up, I had to make sure all the pistons worked together, etc. So overall, it turned out to be a very good system, and I might do a tutorial for this guy in the future. So just some other notes on the system here. It is completely programmable. You do not have to watch the pixels that I put on the screen. You can make them whatever you want. But notably, it does take quite a long time to program all of the shulker boxes to do what you want them to. As you noticed earlier, I had high scrolling backwards across the screen because I didn't quite think it through when I was first programming it and didn't want to go back and fix it. So, there you have that. Now the system is also theoretically expandable. The display is tileable, and it's very possible to do a shulker box swapper with a bigger number of outputs, meaning you could expand the screen to either side and have it bigger and able to display more information. This, however, would mean that you get less information, or less frames, out of each shulker box. So there are definitely some downsides to this machine, and I'm going to go over them real quick here. So first and foremost, it's not really survival friendly to load this thing. As you can see, I have these nether wart blocks all along the side here. That's just for loading the machine and unloading it. So that's rather inconvenient, it takes a lot of time, and if this were survival mode, you'd need stairs to get in and access all of that. As well, to load the machine, you need to get right into here, into this little crack, and place a shulker box there, and overall, it is not very fun to load this thing, so that's definitely something I want to work on in the future, is a shulker box loader that might pass it through a similar type of output device into a display or something like that. I'm not totally sure yet. Alright guys, so now I'm going to show you the data for programming what you saw on the display earlier in the video. So, what we have here is 15 shulker boxes. The red is for the top module, the orange is for the second from the top, and so on down the line. So each module has its own color of shulker boxes, and each shulker box contains 25 items. So the first 5 items will be 1 frame, the next 5 items will be a second frame, and so on until you hit 25. Now the reason I stopped at 25 and didn't fill it up is because those last 2 would mess up the order and you'd have to switch shulker boxes before you could finish, and that would mess up the timing. So we use 25 items divisible by 5, and then we stack it 5 times on 5 display units, and then we get this thing. So overall it takes a while to prepare because, as you can see, all of these stackable and non-stackable items are quite a pain in the ass to get into the containers. Another thing you may notice is that all of the stackable items have to be different so that they don't stack together. Now another solution would be to get a bunch of the same item and rename it a bunch of different things, but that would also be rather time consuming. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I sure did. This thing took me so long to make. I am so happy it's done and finally working. This is super exciting for me. So I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't. But I would like to end off this video on a different note, because I am pretty sure that this is the smallest programmable 5x5 display in Minecraft right now. 1.11.2. I have looked around, I haven't found anything smaller that functions at nearly this capacity. Definitely not a half a frame per second video display with 15 frames, so overall I think it's pretty good. Now, another thing is, theoretically you could add some expandable storage so that the shulker boxes go through a long line of droppers before coming in, and that would allow you to add a bunch more shulker boxes to the system and give you many more frames. And I'm going to be doing a lot more videos on shulker box swappers in the future. This is a super versatile machine, and it can do a lot of things in Minecraft, and I want to show you guys all those things. So, lots of those videos in the future, lots of things you can do to this, and again, if you can find a display that is smaller, let me know down in the comments, because I couldn't find one. I think it's the smallest display in Minecraft at this point in time, and so I'm going to make that claim and clickbait the video because of it. So, like I said before, like if you haven't already, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!